Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is Monday, and it is, I should know because it's my birthday week, everybody, June the 19th. That's right, my birthday is on Thursday, so feel free to send me some cakes if you would like to do that. Hope you're all well. Today's going to be a good live stream because I have good news for everybody. Well, maybe not everybody. I mean, people that are interested in the Bose S1 Pro Plus. And I got a lovely message last week. Someone said they like to listen to the show, even if they don't care what I'm talking about. They just like to hear my thoughts and the community chiming in on these different products and things. So that's really awesome. Thank you for saying that. And I get it. I mean, there's a lot of people that watch this that maybe already have a system they use or don't need a portable system or play electric. I know, you know what I'm trying to say. They just want to hang out and chat about it anyway. But I can see today that we have obviously got people here that want to hear about what's been happening with the S1 Pro Plus. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to quickly say hello, and then I'm going to do my little speeches I've been doing lately at the start of the video. And that way, if people are coming to this video just for that information, they can access that. Information, and then they may want to move on, or they may want to stay. I don't know, but I'll talk about that specific issue with the Bose S1 Pro and what's been happening with that first of all. Then we'll do questions about the Bose S1 Pro, because there's some other features that I've been able to try out as well that I really like putting the pedal into the effects loop. I just did that today and it works perfectly. It's really cool. So I'll talk about that as well today. And then at the very end, we'll just do general questions. We'll see what happens. Maybe today will be all about the Bose. Who knows? The Bose, who knows? And if not, we'll see where it takes us. That's what I like about a live stream. You never quite know where it's going to take you. But having said that, I really should start with the topic that I've advertised, or I'm going to upset the internet, right? So first of all, I'll just quickly say hello to the people that have introduced themselves in the chat. And if you haven't, please do say where you're watching from, and you know, feel free to introduce yourself to the group if you're new here. Let us know what you do and what speakers you're currently using, and if you're interested in this product, the S1 Pro Plus. Also, Has anyone yet purchased an S1 Pro Plus? Let me know in the chat. And yeah, rhyming is optional. So I look like I didn't sleep last night, and that's because I didn't sleep last night. All right, so YouTube person, would love to see you do a side-by-side comparison with the eVerse 8. You have one of the best channels on YouTube for the subject matter you cover. Thank you, I appreciate it. So I still have the original S1 Pro, the S1 Pro Plus, the eVerse 8, the JBL Compact. So I could do a comparison. I'm just wary of, like, honestly, I'm like, what's the point of recording them in my living room with an iPhone, a microphone? How does that really help the viewer? I think I'd rather just, I will do that video, but I think it'd be more like me saying what I think of them at actual gigs. Right? I don't think I can really capture that in a video unless I go and rent some. I could go and rent a hall somewhere and do it there. That would be really cool, but that's going to cost me money to do that. But I still have them all, so that could happen if I got time. So stay tuned and subscribe for that. Another suggestion would be how to get the best amplified sound from a typical piezo without spending a fortune in gear. Save up and buy a Cole Clark. No. Or an Anthem. That is an hour-long, 2-hour-long video, YouTube person, so we'll have that for another day. Kooky says, I wonder how they fixed it. You'll find out in a few minutes. Welcome. T says, hey, hello to everyone in the chat. Hi, T, good to see you here. Zach, are you new here? Good to see you. How's it fixed? Now it's fixed. Are you going to keep it? Yeah, I really like the product. I'll talk about that again after the fix. We'll talk about the fix, and I'll talk about more experiences I've had with the product. And do ask your questions. Let's try to keep the questions about the S1 Pro today, unless you have a burning question that can't wait until next time. Do ask me anything you want to know about the S1 Pro Plus, because a lot of people are talking about it on Facebook in the groups. And there seems to be a lot of misinformation to me. Like, a lot of people are saying don't bother buying it when you've got the S1 Pro, but they're completely different. I mean, okay, sound-wise, they're very similar, basically the same, essentially. But the features, all the features on the Plus are so different and unique to the original that I don't understand why people are overlooking them. And we'll talk about some of them later on today. Bose fixed it. Great news. Yes, it is. I'm very happy. I'm very happy to have a positive stream today. Good to see you, my friend. We've got Busker here on the cello. And Raduk9, good to see you here. Some new names here. It's great. John, say hi, John. Rosanna's moderating. All you trolls out there, be careful what you say. She's got a spanner in her hand and she'll use it. John says, still near Kansas, Missouri. Very nice. And Dave says, this is Mayfair from Acoustic Guitar Forum. Awesome. Good to see you. Yeah, lots of chat in the Acoustic Guitar Forum about these things. And on the there's a good Bose Facebook group as well. If you have the Bose units, do join the Bose Facebook group because that's really helpful. Patsy Smith, hello from Suffolk, UK. Lee is also moderating with his spanner. Watch out, we got two spanners in here today. Be careful. John, Mark, good to see you, Mark from South Carolina. Use the original S1 Pro for busking. So, are you interested in upgrading? Let me know in the chat. Eli says, purchase the unit after your last video. Excited to see what your updates are. Thanks again for doing these deep dives. So you purchased the Eli despite me saying about the Wi-Fi. So are you not interested in the Wi-Fi element part of the speaker? Is that something you're not interested in? Or you just chose to buy it anyway? I'm interested to know your thoughts on that. Quick plug for me, I did have 2 people order it through my Sweetwater link. If you're going to order an S1 Pro and you're in America, feel free to use my Sweetwater link. It's an affiliate link. I appreciate it. Tom Jams, good to see you here. Oh, sorry, Jans, not Jams. I'm sure you do jam though, right, Tom? Good evening. Still use the old ones plus 2 big systems. Yeah, like me. Are you interested in upgrading? Let us know. Tony Wilson, good to see you. I'm Tony from the UK. I'm trading a Roland Jazz Chorus 22 for an S1 Pro or Plus. I use with a Helix and considering buying 2 if it's worth buying a pair. We can certainly talk about that later on, Tony. I've got some thoughts on that. Alan is here. Good to see you from Portugal. We're around the world today. Dave has the Pro Plus. Excellent. But hasn't purchased the wireless modules. The Pro Plus was well worth the upgrade. Tell us more. Do tell us more. You know, this whole channel is my experience with the gear at the paid gigs, right? Does it pay my bills or not? But I also really want to know what you think when you buy it. I've done that with some few products lately. I sit back and like to watch what other people are saying. Not that what I say should affect your purchasing decision and what you say should affect my purchasing decision. I just find it really interesting to see if things correlate and to see if we have the same experience or not. More often than not, I guess we do. It makes sense, right? But sometimes we really don't, and that's quite interesting. And Dave is in Maryland. Very nice. Yes, Graham. So that's the first thing I'll say. Bose have been excellent about this whole situation. They've been absolutely amazing. They've been, I'll say this, and I don't want to offend any companies that I've worked with over the years, but I think Bose have reacted to this the best of any company. And there may be some more. I have a very short memory. I have a very errand short memory, all right? But let's not say the best then, but the way Bose handled this is an A star. I really mean that. I'm not just saying that because they're probably going to... I'm sure they're watching right now. Hi out there. I'm sure they're going to watch this video. We're talking about their product, right? One of their flagship products. But the way they reacted to this whole thing is amazing. Some companies in the past have literally said to me, especially with wireless equipment, oh, it's just your fault. It's where you live. It's how you play. It's the room you play in. It's the building you live in. It's the gigs you play at, which I think is totally ridiculous. It's such a silly thing to say to someone. Now, I do agree with that. Wireless equipment, and the more we get into the digital era and we have this wireless equipment, of course, there's that element. Of course, we all go to venues where any wireless system would struggle, and that can be a problem. I get that. I'm not stupid. I get that. But to say to the customer that it's basically on you, not the product, I think that's totally unacceptable. And I've had that happen to me many times. Now, Bose didn't do that. They could have done that. They could have just said, I know I made a video about it, and most companies would want to address that video. But a lot of companies in the past have just literally just brushed it under the carpet and just thought, well, we'll sell them anyway. I mean, look at the chat today. We've got people that bought the unit regardless, right? But Bose seemed to really care. I got an email. I had a phone call. I've been on a thread with them. I've told them about the venue. I sent them pictures of the venue. I tried it again with another transmitter that they replaced my other transmitter with. It happened again. And I almost told you how we fixed it there. So let me just finish the chat here and I'll tell you. But the whole process has been nothing but just... I can just tell how much they want it to work, and I love that. And another thing I have to say about firmware updates is that I said before, like the iPhone, when that first releases in September, when you get the new iPhones released, day one release, they're full of bugs now every year. But they really fix them quickly, and they always get it completely solved before like February. So within 5 months, it's completely ironed out. Many products now, like the Quad Cortex and the JBL system, they're releasing and they're not doing that. I don't mind, this is a little quick rant here, I don't mind gear coming out that's unfinished. I understand companies have to release products. But if there is a problem, then they should publicly address that problem immediately and have it fixed within, I mean, what's a reasonable amount of time, right? Bose have done this in 2 weeks. Maybe they were working on this before they released the product. I don't know. That happens too. But so many products I've seen released from doing these YouTube videos about different products and pieces of gear that are just simply not ready. And then some of them I've seen become ready after like 3 years. Is that too long? I think that's too long. I've had some gear sitting in the closet behind me on the shelf waiting for the update. I waited so long I eventually had to sell it because I needed the money. And then literally, there was one product I sold a week later. They released this massive update, which is exactly what I was waiting for. But at what point do you say enough is enough? Like, I've got this box that I can't use in its current state, and it's not being updated. That's a real bugbear with me. So anyway, but I should get on with the answer because people are going to be getting reckless. So restless, not reckless. I've starred Dave Owen's comment, and I'll come back to the chat when I've told you what's happened. All right. So here we go. And by the way, do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. So last week we had 30 watching and 30 thumbs up. That was awesome. So the story is they were amazing. Bose were amazing. They reached out. they asked if I wanted to chat on the phone. I said, of course I do. You can tell from the first video that I love the product. I'm many products I've purchased in the past or had to review or whatever, and I've just been like, oh, I don't like it, and I couldn't care less, right? I might make a quick video if I think people are interested in that thing, or if it's really relative to me, or I just return it because I'm not willing to have those products anymore that sit on the shelf and don't get used. Okay, that's just not a good way to buy gear. It's crazy. You need to buy stuff that will do the job and pay the bills. That's my new slogan. Does it pay the bills or not? I think that's really important. So I chatted with them. They didn't seem upset with me for like having criticisms about it. No reason why they should, but again, some companies have been that way. So they were super supportive. They wanted to know information. I was happy to give them information because I'm a product review channel. I want to make products better if I can. So we got through that. I told them what happened, the venue. I went to this venue. There were not many people there. It used to be a Best Buy. Now it's basically a performance space, if you like, with a massive high ceiling. And if you didn't watch the first video about this on the live stream, to summarize that, basically the mic wasn't cutting out, but the guitar was cutting out. And it was cutting out by like a whole second, which is unacceptable. Once again, we know wireless drops out. It happens with any wireless systems. Even the most professional $10,000 wireless systems can drop out. Even a guitar cable can cut out, right? But this 1 hour gig with these 3 1-second dropouts was unacceptable. And obviously, no one would dispute that. So, first thing we did was they said something very important that you should know if you buy one of these things. Is the firmware up to date? I said, yes, it is. I actually thought to do that when I received it, because often products are made and they're shipped out with pre-release firmware, and then the firmware is then installed by the user. So I did run the Bose updater. You want to use Google Chrome if you're on a Mac, plug in with USB. I updated the unit to the latest firmware. There was a fairly substantial firmware update for the S1 Pro Plus. Now, the transmitters, it said, when I inserted them, it would update the firmware on them and say, do you want to update the firmware on them? So I put them in and it never said that message. And I told them this. So they then told me how to check the firmware version of the unit. This is actually a good tip. I didn't know this. This is kind of hidden information. So if you hold down the function button, there's the 3, right? Channel 1, channel 2, and the master one. If you hold that in, first of all, it brings up after about 10 seconds or 5 seconds the secondary menu to do things like turn the expanders off and turn the effects loop off and things like that. If you keep holding it in, it then tells you the firmware. So if you do it for each of them, you'll see the firmware of the transmitter in channel 1, the firmware of the transmitter in channel 2, the firmware of the device on the 3rd one. So from that information, we were then able to ascertain that I am in fact running the latest firmware. So I said, okay, so it did it without telling me, which is slightly annoying that it didn't ask me to update, but it just did it. But at least there's a way to check if yours has done it or not. So do that. If you've bought one of these, if you're going to buy one of these, remember that tip to check out if it's updated. Just hold in each of the encoders, the 3 encoders, and it will tell you on the screen. See, people are knocking this thing for not having physical buttons. It has a screen. The screen is awesome. It tells you the firmware version on the device. Really cool stuff. And if you hold down the power button for 10 seconds, it resets the whole device. So simple, so easy. So I'm all for the screens. So we decided that it is running the latest firmware. So what they did was, the first thing Bose did was sent me a replacement guitar transmitter. And they said, put this in and see if it tells you to update the firmware. So I did that. And it said, do you want to update the firmware? I said yes, and it updated it. I then checked the firmware on that transmitter, and it was the same as the other transmitter had been. Okay? So at this point, I thought this isn't going to do anything because I feel like they just didn't tell me before that it was updating the firmware, and it did update the firmware. So I took the speaker again to the same location. It's important to remember that all this experience I'm talking about is in the same venue, right? I have not yet had a chance, I've not had the time or chance to take this to multiple venues in multiple cities in multiple continents. I wish I could. So do take what I say with a grain of salt based on this one venue. All right, it's all about this one venue. So I took the unit there with this new transmitter, And unfortunately, I had the same results. 3 dropouts about 1 second long each during the space of 1 hour. So there we go. It turns out that was not the answer. At this point, I was pretty disappointed. And they said, right, we're going to switch out the system for you now. So I got to admit, from the beginning, I was happy to do this. I've done this many times before with companies to try and fix a product, and it's rarely worked. There's rarely been a solution, which I got to admit, at this point, I was thinking this is a lost cause. I'll probably, I don't know. I didn't know what I was going to do. They switched the unit very quickly. All this was over a space of about 2 weeks. They sent the new unit, and I said, so what, have you replaced the whole thing? Am I going to try it again? I'm happy to try it one more time. They said, no, here's the answer. Here's what you've all been waiting for. This system has been updated with a new firmware. So I think, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think this firmware was already in production before they released it. I don't think they made this firmware based on my YouTube video. I don't think that for a second. But the fact is they put this firmware on the device for me to test. And lo and behold, I get the new system. I didn't touch anything because obviously they've unboxed it and set it up with this firmware. I didn't want to reset or risk messing up the way they'd set it or anything, the firmwares. So I literally just charged it up, took it to the gig again, and I did take a backup speaker. I did take another speaker with me. I had to take a cab because, of course, the whole thing about the S1 Pro Plus is that I will take this speaker on the train and save money on cabs, right? But I just thought, and this is another really important tip for you musicians out there. I'm sure you know this already, but if you're going to a wedding or something, you take a backup, right? If you're going to your regular gig, you might not take the backup because then you can travel on the train or whatever, or take the subway. But if you're taking something that you're testing, if you're running a beta firmware or an unreleased firmware, always take a backup, because what happens if that speaker doesn't load for some reason, right? New firmware is always not as stable or tested as other firmware. Generally, that's the rule, right? Like if you own a Kemper, you're not going to update that Kemper an hour before your gig, because there's always a chance that that firmware could have some awful bug in it that kills the experience. So, very important. So, I took all this gear with me because I really wanted to test this one, and I was really excited. I thought, well, if there's a new firmware, this could be it. Maybe they've done it. And then I'll admit there was a part of me that thought maybe they didn't, and I was worried, but that's just because of my past experience with other gear. So, no problem. It worked perfectly. So let's give Bose a round of applause. In fact, let me give him a real round of applause, because that was a terrible round of applause. There we go. Now, there is a caveat. I like that word, caveat. There is a caveat to this, isn't there? I don't yet know. I immediately told Bose that this fixed the problem, and I asked them a couple of questions I think are important here. And oh, by the way, I didn't ask him if I could talk about this either. I just feel like I have to talk about this because I came on here live and told you that I had problems with the system. And I've seen people then quote me on forums and things. So I feel it's my duty as doing, once you get in front of the camera and say something critical about something and they fix it, I think it's the right thing to do, to go live and tell people they fixed it, which is why I made that very clickbaity, over-the-top thumbnail, obviously to get people here to watch the video because I need people to watch my channel, but also because I want to make sure people know that Bose did this awesome thing. They're working on this product. They care. I think the word is care. They care about the product. Once again, you might think, well, all companies care about products. That is simply not the case. Let me tell you, I can tell this company cares about the product from the way they've emailed me, from the way they've spoken to me on the phone, from the way that they've dealt with this situation. They care about the product. And I think that's awesome. And I think if you want if you want to say to me, should I buy one? Well, I think that's a huge thing in their favor, because I assume if there was anything else, there was a problem, they would treat it the same way. I assume so. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But this is a great start to the product launch, and I think that's awesome. Now, let's just handle the caveats here. I didn't ask them if I could tell you this, so I don't know anything else. I don't know if this firmware is out now. I don't know if this firmware is out tomorrow. I don't know if this firmware is out next week. I don't even know if this firmware is stable in general. I haven't tested everything else. I haven't had time, right? I just got it. So unfortunately, I can't tell you anymore. All I can tell you is I now have an S1 Pro Plus with the wireless system that works perfectly at 1 gig for 1 hour, where the other one with the other firmware didn't. I can't tell you that it's going to work, because one question I asked them after I told them what happened is, okay, you fixed it here, it's working in this venue, but how have you fixed? Can you tell me how you fixed it? Like, have you done something to the firmware that if I go somewhere else, that might be not as good there as the other firmware was? Like, can you tell me exactly what you did, basically? And I've not heard back yet, because today is I think they're not working today, but I don't know. Like I said, it is fixed, but I would like to, as I always say on here, I would like to get more information. I know I just told you I recommend a system and you should buy one and try one. If you have that return policy, you definitely should, because once that firmware releases and you can install that, then you can try it and make sure it does work for you. Like I said earlier on, even if there's this firmware for this thing that makes it rock solid at all of my gigs, it doesn't mean that if Kooky buys one in France or Switzerland or wherever, so I forgot where you live right there, but it doesn't mean if, okay, Rosanna buys one in England, it doesn't mean that she's not going to have a problem. I can't tell you that. That's why the YouTube channel is here. That's why the Facebook group is there. So you can come on here and tell us if you've had a problem. There may be people watching this video that are using the system now with the older firmware that have had 0 problems. So I overreacted a little bit there. Let me just make it clear. All I'm really telling you is Bose treated the situation excellently. They're working on it. I have a system now with an unreleased, I think it's unreleased firmware that is working for the 1 gig that I was doing all my comparisons in, and I think that's really, really promising. That's really all I can tell you. I can't tell you, I don't want to say they fixed it, it's 100% perfect. I don't even know that yet. Remember, everything I'm talking about on this channel today is about one venue. But I was very excited, very happy. The fact that I had 2 bad experiences with the previous firmware, and then the new firmware was 100%. And one more thing to add to that. I also walked, because the system doesn't have a massive range on it. I think they quote 30 feet. That's enough. I mean, if you're busking or doing a party and you're wireless, I don't think you need to walk more than 30 feet. I'm not playing at Wembley. And I know the other systems go further than that. But when I tested that distance with the previous firmware, once I got to like 10 feet, there was a dropout. It may have just been a coincidence. So at the end of this gig, I was a bit nervous. I didn't want it to cut out while I was performing the weekend, because it's work, right? I don't want to mess up my job. But I did at the end of the gig, when I finished everything, I walked about 30 feet. I don't know how far it was. It was twice as far as it was with the previous firmware, and it still worked absolutely fine. So I've just got, that's it. That's it. So I don't want to get too carried away. And I don't want to underplay it either. They did a great job. They've got this new firmware. It's working perfectly for me, much better than the previous firmware. But having said that, now I need to use the system at other venues, other locations. I need to hear from other people that have purchased a unit when they finally get this firmware on there, to know if they are having success as well. But all I can say for now is, great job, Bose. Thank you for fixing that. It is fixed in regards to my previous comments, but now we do more testing. And if you're on the fence and this pushes you over the edge to order one, please, please, please do let me know your experiences with it, because I can't test it. I can only test it where I gig. And some of the gigs I play at, I have to use a bigger system anyway, right? Or a house system. So I can't test it everywhere. So if you do get one, please let me know. And that's it. So now I'm going to go to the chat. Ask me any questions about anything that I missed, and let me know what you think of that. Do you think that's great? Do you think are you well, what are your thoughts? I've got a feeling that some of you might have some thoughts on that and what might happen next. But yeah, as far as today is concerned, I'm very, very pleased. So Graham said, good to see they've been quick to address the issues. Yeah, exactly. My thoughts exactly. Mark says, if I can drop weight, I'm interested. I travel to Ireland to busk in Dublin once a year. Yeah, so I really think this is the ultimate busking amp. I don't want to say I don't think this is for every gig. and I always say this about these battery speakers, I feel like a lot of people on forums get kind of carried away with small amplification. I still think there's a need for large amplification. For example, if this S1 Pro filled a massive room, you wouldn't need the L1 tower systems anymore. So, and also, I don't think a speaker that weighs 14 pounds in my lifetime will ever be able to fill a room because of the physics involved. I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But also, the other angle of that is a company going to release a product that then cannibalizes all of their other products? I think that's a good point as well. But I just don't think it's going to be physically possible. Now, one thing I want to say about the S1 Pro Plus, I can clip it. I think this is important information to put out there. I have if you haven't noticed, I have a really loud voice, and I use a very high quality microphone. Well, let's say very high quality. I mean, I use a $200 microphone, Sennheiser 845. Or is it the 8 or the 9? I can't think. But you know what I mean. Sennheiser microphone. I put the microphone right against my mouth. I sing. I project really loud. I'm 6'5". I can make it clip around 11 o'clock on the volume. Now remember, with the volume controls on these systems, this happened. The first system that did this was the JBL, and now we're doing it with the Bose here. And I think the original Bose may have done it, but in the old days we had a mixer. This confuses a lot of people. In the old days, you got your mixer, and you plugged your mic in, and you set the gain. And the way you set gain, a lot of people don't even know this, and I didn't know this. This actually messed me up when I was starting out playing gigs, because I thought my PA I bought was trash from the store, and I got really mad at the store, and it was my fault. What you do, obviously it's 30 years ago. So you plug your mic in or your guitar in, use the gain control, and you sing as loud as you can. Now, no one does this, and it's really annoying. You'll know what I mean if you've done a band gig. And sorry for any musicians that are watching that have done band gigs with me. But you basically set up for the band gig, and you say to the singer, say there's another male singer, all right, we're going to set up your mic now. Can you sing as loud as you're going to sing at the gig? And they always hold the mic here and sort of sing, da, 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you set the gain as high as you can so it goes red, and then you back it off slightly. So there's a little bit of headroom there, but you've got the hottest signal you can possibly have. Hopefully they sing right into the microphone, so you're getting that full amount of pressure, sound pressure, with no background bleed and noise. And then you EQ it accordingly. And then at the gig, they always sing a bit louder, but most people, what you find happens is they'll do that, and then on the gig, suddenly it's rah, rah. They're about 5 times the volume, and everything's clipping. So the way you used to do it was, you would, especially if I was doing my own sound for myself, I would sing as loud as I'm going to at the gig, like as loud as I physically can, and set that gain, and then use the volume to set the actual channel, the actual mix volume, and the master level for the overall volume of the PA for the room. Now, what you got to remember with these new battery systems, and some of the tower systems now as well, is that they're using a switcher. They're not using gain pots like that, because it makes it more accessible for people. Because obviously setting gain is a skill, and it's a skill that, like I said, I didn't know how to do it in the beginning. So to get around that, what they do is they automatically switch these inputs now from line to mic. So you might find with some speakers that as you're singing into them, they suddenly get a lot louder. What's happening is it's switching the circuit from line to mic, and it's boosting the volume. And that's what's happening. So bear that in mind. But with my voice, I guess what I'm trying to say is they're trying to accommodate all instruments, all singers, all speakers with these inputs. So with my loud voice, I can clip it about 10 or 11 o'clock on the dial. That means I'm hitting the maximum gain for that thing at that volume. And if I go more than that, I'll hear it clipping. It's not a very nice sound, digital clipping. So what I have to do is I have to sing and set that so it doesn't clip, and then that's as loud as I can get it. Bearing in mind, I'm playing in a massive room when I do this, so if I'm playing in a bedroom, I won't be doing that, of course. I'll just have a little bit of volume. But to get the absolute most headroom and volume out of this thing possible, and remember, we're talking about a small 14-pound, 150-watt amp, basically, I will do that. Then I'll bring up the guitar to match that, just below it, all right? So, I forgot the point I was trying to make, but that's how I do that, and I do the same thing on the other battery speakers like the eVerse 8. I do the same on that. I still, someone's going to ask me about the 2 units. I still think the eVerse 8 is a bit louder, but it is louder. In fact, it's 450 watts. But the sound is so different on the S1 Pro and the eVerse 8. The eVerse 8 to me is more like a little sort of a miniature actual PA speaker. Obviously, it's got all the mixer and stuff effects built in, but it's very punchy. It's very, it's the S1 Pro Plus. That it has a very different sound, and I know it has all the tone match presets that I haven't really tried out yet. But it's almost to me like the S1 Pro just kind of is. I said this before. It's just sort of me, but louder, more transparent, less harsh in the mids, lots of bass. In fact, way too much bass for me. I always dial it all out, and I kind of like that. I'm trying to explain how I think about it. Like when I play a solo gig with the S1 Pro Plus and with the wireless systems, I almost feel like I don't have an amp because there's no wire on the. Okay, I'm standing at a microphone stand, but there's no cables. It looks super clean, which a lot of clients really like. I know that from past, what people have said to me at gigs. But I'm free because I'm wireless. It looks clean, and I just feel like the sound is just basically like I'm playing in the room, but everything is just projecting. With the eVerse, I feel more like I'm playing into a PA speaker, and it's pushing air, which is not a bad thing. It's impressive to me. Like, oh, this is powerful. It's a punchy little speaker, and there's still more volume to go. Where the S1 Pro in the same room, I've hit my maximum volume. But I just like what it's doing in that room. I like the fact that it's almost more personable. It's more just me. And maybe if I play with the settings, I won't feel this way anymore. But that's basically to me what it is. If I had to explain the difference for me, that's the difference in those 2 units. So people ask me about the inputs. Like, there's only 3 inputs. Well, I don't think I'd want to put a duo into one Bose S1 Pro. I actually think that would be a bit silly. Now, I know people do. I know there's people out there that are doing it. And if it works for you, it's great, because again, this is all based on how loud we play and what instruments we play, right? So when I say it'd be silly, I mean it'd be silly for me, because if I'm singing like that and playing the guitar aggressively, and I have someone playing the cajon through a mic, and then they're singing harmonies at the same time, I just think that's asking too much of one S1 Pro Plus. And I think in that example, you should have 2 of them. I think that makes more sense to have 2 S1 Pro Pluses, or a bigger system, whether that's a competitor system, still like I said, still like the eVerse. But don't forget that you could also get something like the Pro 8, the Pro 16, or the Pro 32 from Bose. And once again, we have to remember that Bose do sell those systems. They obviously want us to buy those systems as well. And one thing you could do with the S1 Pro Plus, which would be really cool, is you could use the S1 Pro Plus as a monitor and the wireless system, and then run one XLR cable out into one of those tower systems and have that over the other side of the room, basically filling the room with sound and still remain wireless. So there is an ecosystem here, and I know we shouldn't avoid that, because obviously they want to sell those products as well. And obviously those products are going to sound, I don't want to say superior, but they're going to sound louder because they are simply louder speakers, right? With larger speakers and larger subwoofers. So there's no way around that, really. By the way, you can use a subwoofer with the S1 Pro Plus, but again, I think at that point, I'd rather just buy the Pro 8 or the Pro 16 would be nice. Right, let me take a coffee break, and then I'm going to answer your questions. But that's basically my thoughts so far. I have also tried the patch cable, and it works as advertised. So you can be wireless and still patch in a pedal to the unit, which is really cool. All right. Bose question. Could I use the XLR wireless transmitter plugged directly into my VoicePrint DI that is on my pedal board? So I would need to be wired to the board, but then the board would be wireless. Yes. Yes, that's exactly what I was just saying. So Bose have done this really cool thing. I'm just looking for I'll just show you on the screen this cable. So this is what you do. This is how you do it. And I bought this cable and I tested it because I wanted to make sure it worked as one of the advertised features, and it does work perfectly. So purchase this cable. Again, feel free to use my Sweetwater link. What you do is it's an insert cable. So it's a TRS. You see on the single cable, there's the two black lines. That's TRS, like a stereo cable, basically, into the red and black cable here. This is for your pedal, or in this case, it'll be the VoicePrint DI. So what you do is, the mode is already turned on by default. So you plug the wireless transmitter into your guitar. This was one of my concerns in the beginning. Like, if I go wireless, I won't then be able to use pedals. But they've thought of this, and that's one of the cool features here. So you simply plug this cable into the where you would normally plug your guitar into the Bose S1 Pro Plus. You plug this TRS cable part into it, and then you plug the red and black cable into the in and out of the VoicePrint DI or whatever pedal you're using. What that does is it puts that pedal after the guitar, after the wireless, because obviously when you normally use wireless, you're going to plug into your guitar and then plug the wireless system into, let's use the VoicePrint DI as our example. You're going to plug the wireless into your guitar, basically effectively replacing your cable, and then place the other end of that into the input of your VoicePrint DI and go out the VoicePrint DI with a cable into your speaker. So if you were going to do this, when the unit released, I was worried that I would have to plug in the wireless, plug the wireless into the output of the VoicePrint DI and then run another wireless into the VoicePrint DI, which would be this complete nightmare, right? So I couldn't believe it when they released this S1 Pro Plus that they've thought of this. And it's so ingenious. So you're basically connecting the pedal to the S1 Pro Plus, but you still use the wireless as normal. You're still wireless, but the pedal is in there. So it's exactly the same. It works exactly the same way as if you do it the way I just described. So yes, the answer is you can do it. You buy this cable here for it's under $10. I bought the super long version, and I'll tell you how I'm going to use it. Whenever I do one of these small solo gigs where I want to be very compact and mobile and wireless, basically I have two rigs. My regular rig is the Voice Live 3 Extreme with the add-on pedal and then all my cables and everything. When I go out with something like the Bose S1 Pro Plus, I don't take that stuff because it kind of defeats the purpose for me. I'm suddenly not light anymore. I'm carrying all this stuff with me, right? My bag with that Voice Live 3 Extreme, as much as I love it, the bag with that and all the cables for it is about 22 pounds. So that's 10 pounds more almost or 8 pounds more than the Bose is itself. So it seems silly to me to take that bag that weighs more than the PA speaker that I'm taking. So what this means is I can now take a pedal. So I'm actually currently looking for a battery-powered loop pedal. I see that EHX make one. I might get that one. So I can put a battery in there, and then when I go to a gig, all I got to do is take this cable and that pedal, which is a couple of pounds, plug it in, and put the battery in because that one's battery-powered, and I can use a looper while being wireless through a 14-pound speaker. That does blow my mind. If I had the blow my mind emoji, I would play it right now. Isn't that cool that you can have that much technology in that small of a footprint? And don't forget as well, there's also a USB port that you can use to power the looper if you want to. If you don't want to use a battery, you can still power pedals from the S1 Pro Plus. And there's even still a USB-C port where you can plug in your phone and charge your phone. I mean, you really got to give it to them. And I said this in the initial video, the initial live stream. If you didn't see that, please do watch it. The feature set here is awesome, isn't it? A 14-pound speaker. Now, okay, I said it's not gonna rival a full regular PA system. It doesn't even. I don't think it gets as loud on paper as the eVerse 8. We know that because it's a 450-watt speaker. It's also 3 pounds heavier. But the fact that I can have a 14-pound speaker that allows me to do the following things: be wireless with my voice and my guitar, still use a loop pedal and power it, and charge my phone throughout the gig, or if I don't want to do that, live stream the sound from my phone of the gig from this one box. That's what I was saying earlier at the start of the show. People are totally overlooking these features. These features are killer. No one else is doing it. And I said in the original video that they should be praised for this because all these other products are just boring. Like, how many battery-powered speakers are out there? I mean, okay, they have features. They have an app. They have, some of them do power devices. Some of them do have these features. But this is an amazing feature set. The fact that you can power a loop pedal, still insert that loop pedal into the speaker while having a wireless guitar, a wireless mic, and charging your iPad throughout the gig. So when you finish the gig, you're at 100% on your iPad, and still having battery life at the end of it is incredible. I forgot to say earlier that when I finished that 1 hour gig, both transmitters, the guitar and the mic transmitter and the S1 Pro Plus itself, were still at 100% battery. And just so you know, I did get another set of the Sennheiser XSW systems. I've told you before, they're the best little bug systems on the market. The batteries are horrible. They do tend to die on me. What I'm doing now is I'm using the included USB cables, not third party, with a small Apple charger brick. And I'm going to see if they last longer this time. And if they don't, I don't care because I do use them professionally, and I'll just pay. You can, just so you know, you can pay Sennheiser $70 at any point, and they'll replace the battery or replace the unit for you. I think that's acceptable. I'm personally okay with that because I get a lot of use out of those systems and they work really well. But from testing those last week, they do only really last for 4 hours and then they're dead. Whereas with the Bose, it's so nice to push those things back into the unit in your break and they just charge up. I just don't want to take a charger and plug in the Sennheiser ones in my break. I'm just never going to do that realistically. So again, that feature is in the box and no one is talking about these features, and I think it's really sad. People are only saying, is it louder? Does it sound better than the original? Now, don't get me wrong. I do wish the unit, if I had my way, if it could be 50% louder than it is or the original and sound even better, of course I wouldn't say no to that. Not that it doesn't sound great now, but definitely with the headroom, if it could be 50% louder this is the problem. At £14, I mean, if it was 50% louder but then weighed 18 pounds, would I still want it? Maybe not. So that's where we have the problem. That's where maybe I think Bose should release a Bose S1 or S2 Pro, which is £18 and is twice the volume and costs a bit more money. I think that, and maybe 4 inputs or 3 dedicated full inputs. Maybe there is a market for that product, but that's for another video. All right, let me get back to your comments because I got distracted. But yes, to answer your question, you can plug in a VoicePrint DI and be completely wireless still, which is amazing. The one thing I need to figure out, I'm still looking into it, is how do I power? I know how to power a pedal from the USB, the regular USB port. You can buy those cables. I have one, the ripcord cables. But can you power a guitar pedal from a USB-C power delivery port? I don't know yet. I haven't been able to yet. So just a question in general about the Wi-Fi thing. Are there any issues when playing in a location with a very large crowd or at a festival? Are there any interferences or Wi-Fi gets killed? Now, I'll be absolutely honest with you. I mean, look, let's be honest, right? Let's be obvious. If you're playing a festival, you're not going to use an S1 Pro Plus for a festival. You're going to use the festival PA system. But you might say, well, we'll use the S1 Pro Plus as a personal monitor. Yes. You could then use the wireless. The truth is, I don't know. I don't know. Based on my first video, no way. No way would I take that to a wedding because they're paying me money to be at their wedding. It has to not drop out. Based on the new firmware, if I don't get any more dropouts, maybe I would. Again, you could use this as a wireless system. You could use this. Imagine you buy 2 of the XLR wireless modules because you can mix and match here, and you basically have a monitor that has 2 wireless mics. You have to buy the mics, but 2 wireless mics then for speeches at a wedding. And what you do is you run the output of the S1 Pro Plus into the mixer and run that through the front of house, and you have then a monitor for the guests where you can put it anywhere you want because it's battery powered, and they're wireless. So that could potentially replace, let's see, a wireless system is $500, so that could potentially replace $1,000 worth of wireless gear. But we know the range isn't as good as, say, the $500 system, so this is down to you. I don't think I would. I think what I've got is I've got a Shure wireless, the new one with the dual bands and everything. If I'm doing a wedding in a big room with 100 guests and they want to do speeches, I'm using that because I think I owe them that as part of the job, right? I want them to have a good experience for their wedding. I also have access now to, I've got the XSW system now that does have a quoted longer range, so I'd probably be more inclined to use that for a ceremony or something. But I think my primary use for the S1 Pro Plus is, again, personal. It's me. It's for me to be wireless, for me to look clean, have a clean setup. It's for, yeah. So I don't think I would. I think I would, again, if I don't get any problems with it going forward and I need a wireless mic for a wedding ceremony, yes, I would use it. And that's fine because the chances are the guests will be far away and you can put the speaker next to them because it's battery powered anyway, right? So I don't know. This wireless stuff is all dependent on what you do and where you do it. But let's just say it's improved and I would use it. But obviously if I've got a $1,000 wireless system, I'm not going to not use the $1,000 wireless system, and I'm not going to sell the $1,000 wireless system. That's not $1,000. Well, actually, with the mic and the box and everything, it's about $700. But I'm not gonna, you know, I know that's got the 2 bands in it, multiple frequencies. That product costs as much as the Bose. So of course I'm going to use that. I'm not going to sell that either because I might need that for what I do. But the wireless in the Bose could certainly be good for a lot of people. Say you do birthday parties, events with like 30 people all the time. Yeah, of course. It's also ideal for if you do gym, if you do meditate, you know, yoga classes like that. Of course, it's ideal for that. All right, Dave says, I was planning to buy the wireless setup regardless to test out myself, but I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and experience on it. Yes, and of course you must always do that, especially with all gear. You never listen to someone's review and then act solely upon that. You just take that as another piece of information with your purchase, right? But especially, like I said, with wireless, because wireless is all dependent on where you live and where you play and what other wireless systems are in the area. Honestly, for my use case, I didn't think that the connectivity was absolutely essential, but more of a wonderful bonus. And I was basically betting on Bose fixing it with a patch. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, some people will buy this and never use the wireless. I still think the S1 Pro Plus is the better option before the old one. Again, I haven't directly A/B'd them, so I might change my mind on that once I've A/B'd them side by side. But based on the features and the $100 difference in the USA, at least, that is definitely worth it. And then you've got the option of going wireless if you want to at some point. Oh, that was a lot of talking. Dave says, I worked with Bose in the early days on the first L1. That's cool. They were incredible to deal with. Great. They listened to the feedback of those of us who are out here using their products. Very good. Yeah, I can tell that. I really can tell that, which is great. Chris said, purchase 2 S1 Pluses and 2 XLR receivers. So Chris is going to do the microphone thing, which is great. Again, you don't have to get the mic and the guitar wireless. You could just get the guitar wireless because maybe you want to run your mic with the cable. You could get 2 guitar instrument wirelesses. You could run your keyboard and your guitar wirelessly through the one unit. At that point, it becomes a 2-channel mixer as well. Or you can do what I'm doing, which is conventional, which is, you know, mic and guitar. And then what Chris is going to do is have 2 microphones. Imagine if you're at a church, if you're at a business where you do meetings and presentations, imagine having 2 wireless microphones through the S1 Pro Plus. It's going to be perfect for that. I know I sound like a salesman suddenly, but if you have a business with a big corporate meeting room and you need to do presentations, having this behind you and 2 microphones, and then you can also play the music through this at the end of the meeting while you're having your coffee, or the music for the presentation. Amazing, right? Amazing for that. Bimo, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so just run off those questions now. We'll just answer as many questions, talk about as much stuff as we can, now that we've addressed my current kind of thoughts on everything. So 100% agree on the firmware topic. Yep, we don't like to buy stuff where the firmware is not baked. It's like going to a new restaurant just opened and the food isn't cooked. But that's actually a really good analogy, because how often have you been to a brand new restaurant on the first opening day and the food isn't very good, and you go back a month later and the food is very good? Doesn't that happen all the time? Hate to be a beta tester for 2 to 5 years. I agree. I used to love it. I used to love, like, can I make this? In the early days, it was like, can I make the Helix sound better by doing this and this? And is there a secret source that I can find? And then it was, can I set up a MIDI package with a phone and an iPad and invent my own device that I can do music with? The truth is now I can't be bothered anymore. I just want stuff to work. I just want to play and sound good and focus more on what I'm playing. I don't want to be... I certainly don't want dropouts or crashes. I mean, my iPhone crashed the other day. That was a real hassle. It's going to happen. The more we get digital stuff in our lives, the more we're going to get problems. But I don't like seeing stuff released that it's just not, they just didn't do the job. Okay, great question from Zach. And yeah, let's talk about this. How am I going to integrate this into my workflow? Since you're keeping it, does that make any of your gear obsolete or inferior? Such you'll be. Okay. Was there another part to that? But that's a great question. That's a very good question. So like I said, I currently have the different speakers, and I'm gonna sell some, because I know I've been saying for a long time I'm downsizing. I am. And I have made some decisions that I haven't shared yet on the channel because I want to make it into videos. But I'm actually very proud of myself. I'm really getting a sense now of what gear works for me. And a lot of that is through feedback from the audience and venues, as well as my own personal kind of feeling. So here's the way I see the S1 Pro Plus fitting in for me. And again, remember, this is just me, because again, remember, if you are using this in a classroom, you're going to have a very different opinion about how much headroom does it have to if you're like me and you're playing in a big noisy venue in the city where you need a lot of additional headroom. Like, I get a sense that a lot of musicians I talk to online, and when they post their videos, a lot of them are doing more like listening rooms and songwriters nights and playing outside. And I really think a lot of musicians have more of a listening audience than I do. Like, I think playing in a noisy bar instantly means you need like another 10 decibels of gain, because everyone's talking louder than you, which is just the way it is, right? So S1 Pro Plus, like I said, this is how I view it for myself and how I see it fitting in my workflow, really. I see it as a personal amplification device. That's it. So I still have a band PA. I'd like to get the column systems from my band, because I feel like the same thing with my band. I'm blasting the audience with PA speakers, where I'd rather spread the sound out with the tower systems. But I still have the band PA, and I need that. If I get asked to do a big wedding and it's an 8-piece band, I need my 16-channel mixer and my monitors and my speakers. So I don't do that very often, but when I do it, I have to have it ready to go because I need it, right? So I've still got that rig. That's not my main rig. My main rig lately, or used to be, a single QSC 8.2, which just has a ton of headroom, a ton of volume, but no features, and is pretty heavy. Lately, but after that, I've been using the Everse 8 instead, simply because it is loud enough, not for everything, but for like 80% of what I do, and it's very light, and I can carry it around very easily. So I've been using that for most stuff. The S1 Pro Plus, like I said, I see it almost as yet another category of like me standing up there and just being louder. That's how I perceive it, and this is based on the gigs that I've done. And so that's how I perceive myself using it. I see myself taking the Bose S1 Pro Plus to birthday parties, small events, busking, traveling, as a backup, as a monitor in the band. That could be what the drummer's monitor, because it's fully wireless. I wish I wish I could use the S1 Pro Plus for everything that I do. I honestly don't think I can. I don't think it's loud enough. I think asking a 150 watt speaker to do all my shows is completely unrealistic. And it's just common sense, right? I wish it wasn't the case. I think I'm trying to answer your question. I'm not doing a very good job of answering your question. So basically, I do several different kinds of events, right? I do restaurants where I'm going to the house system. That's more and more common now. So yes, I would take it to that. Luckily, I don't have to take it to that at the moment because the venue has their own PA system speaker at the venue. So I just take my bag and my guitar. But I would definitely use it for that because you're lining out into their system. So you don't need a lot of headroom. Any kind of house party that I do, which I used to do all the time, used to do birthday parties, people's houses in their backyard, I would take it to that, definitely, because I love the way, again, it just amplifies me and just makes me louder without being like harsh or aggressive sounding. Noisy bar, no, I would still ideally just take a full PA system, whether it's a tower system or a QSC type speaker, or the eVerse 8 for me is more like getting towards that QSC type speaker. It's not as loud as that, but it's more in that ballpark than the Bose is. So if I was doing, house concert, busking, house party, backyard party, birthday party, sometimes I'll get called to go and sing a song to someone randomly. That's what it's amazing for. Say you get asked to do sing at someone's wedding proposal in the park. Now you're not supposed to use amplification there at all, but with something like this, you could literally just with a guitar and that in a bag, you could literally stick that on the ground, take out the transmitters, set up the mic stand, put the mic on, plug in the mic, plug in the guitar, and play one song, pack it away. You can literally do that in 2 minutes and be gone and have a really nice, again, your sound but louder for that intimate kind of occasion. That'd be amazing. You would never want to take a PA system to that and run a generator. That would completely kill the mood, right? So I do believe gear has its place for different situations, and we have to remember that. So I certainly have a lot of venues and occasions where I will be using this for sure. Also at home, I was playing it today. Of course, at home it's more than loud enough because I'm in a small place, right? So practicing, playing at home, those kind of intimate things, and so many, you get so many weird gigs. Like I once played in a jewelry store, and they hated I told this story before. They hated the fact I had cables. It was so funny. They almost sent me home because I had cables, and I'm like, well, you hired a musician, and I need a PA, and my PA has cables. I need to run. So anyway, imagine this for those gigs. I do get those gigs occasionally, and it's amazing for them. So that's what I see this as. For me, this is Aaron Short, but louder at your event. Very clean, very sleek, in and out, jump on a bus, do a gig, get home. Small bars, especially if they have their own PA as well to go into, awesome. So personal amplification. You might disagree with me. That's how I see it so far based on what I've experienced. The slightly larger bars where I can't justify a $50 cab, I'll still have to take the eVerse 8. Some gigs, I might take the S1 Pro Plus. I mean, I could run it out into the eVerse 8, right? You could use 2 speakers. I want to say you could buy 2 S1 Pro Pluses, but the problem then is someone's going to say that's too much money to spend. But basically, if you're doing a larger venue, you really want 2 speakers. Where do we get this idea anyway that we have one little speaker for a gig? When I grew up, people had 2. I used to play in little pubs in London, and they would have like 15-inch speakers on poles, 15-inch monitors, and huge amplifiers. And then they would go to the bar and roll up tissue and stick it in their ear because it's too loud. That's what a pub gig used to be for me. That pub I'm thinking of right now, you could certainly do that with 2 S1 Pro Pluses and probably sound better. I'm not a rock band, but you know what I'm saying, if you're doing a solo or a duo gig. So that's how I see that fitting into the workflow. But I may change my mind as I go because, like I said, there is an FRFR mode. Maybe I'll end up using it with my electric guitar sounds with the FR. Maybe that will sound different. I haven't had a chance yet to test all that out. I'm literally just reset the unit, plugging in, setting the tone, and go. I haven't sat and dialed in and gone through all the presets and everything yet. But yeah, that's where I see it really excelling. Let me think of one more for you. Last year I played in a clothing store, big chain over here. I did their grand opening, perfect for that. They don't want to see big systems set up. They don't want cables running everywhere. They don't want it too loud. They're going to tell you to turn it down. Imagine one of these there, it's propped up on a stand next to you, no cables, just you and the speaker. Awesome. And I tell you what, I really think that they might book you for another gig off that, because looks are important. It's not just about the sound, is it? It's how you look. And I think, I mean, sometimes you can't have a clean stage. Sometimes if you're going to have your looper and your pedals and a mixer, you can't have a clean stage. Or even a snake and everything tidied away, you still got that gear there. You can't hide everything, not realistically. But with this system, you can be completely clean. And I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate that. I was going to say they should make a white version as well, because a lot of weddings would use this. With the EV speaker, they make a white version. But I think they might, they make those covers, don't they? I think you could put like one of those white covers over it. So I think that would be cool too. So I hope that answers your question, Zach. Quick plug for myself. If you're new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. I really would appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. I'm almost at 15K and I really want to get to 15K. It's a nice round number. So subscribe to the channel. I see some people did earlier. I appreciate it. So good to see you here. And then it should be possible to switch between firmware on demand. If something went bad, easily switch back. In the iPhone app, the release date, changelog, etc. should be shown. So the iPhone now does let you do that. You can test the new firmware and switch back within the phone. But it took Apple about 20 years to do that, didn't it? So Radu, yeah, we've discussed it. I don't know any information about it. I've just given you my experience with something that I've been sent, and you obviously just joined. So go back and watch the start of the video. I start talking about it around 10 minutes, 13 minutes. And you'll hear what I had to say about that. I don't want to bore everyone that came early and tell them the whole story again. I apologize. Aaron, you're always honest and sincere. People who know you appreciate this, I would testify in court. Wow, thank you. I might need you one day. So thanks for that, John. Zach, hopefully not, though. Zach said, I have the JBL Eon 1 with a stand. I believe you had the Eon 1 and have sold it. No, I still have it. I'd like to sell mine and get the Bose or the EV. Which do you prefer? They're both great. They're both... I would say, here's a quick roundup that I would say in this comparison video about these three speakers. A bit like the guitar modelers, they all have these pluses that mean you can't eradicate any of them. The JBL has 3 dedicated inputs, which is very, very nice. Even though I wouldn't probably use 3 instruments at once, it has 3 dedicated inputs. So you can have a microphone or 2 microphones and a guitar in there. That's nice. But it's only 150 watts. The eVerse 8 is definitely louder than all. If sheer volume is important to you, and you're like a drummer, and you just want like a loud box on the ground that's just going to smack you in the face, and more like it's a PA speaker, I still say the EV. They're very good. They've done a very good job with that product. The Bose though is more like, if ideal scenario, like you do house concerts, you know, maybe that's a bad example because they usually they sometimes play acoustic, but you know, you play in shopping centers, you play outside, you're a busker, you play in people's homes. You just want to look really clean and not have all these cables around. You just want to just be louder. That's what that product is, and it does it so well. I love it. I really do love it for that. So I have them all still because, and I desperately need and want to sell them all. Not all of them, you know, some of them, but I do want to try to compare them. At least just have them to show and say, right, this is the good thing about this one. This is a good thing about this one. This is a good thing about this one. And then talk about the way they've sounded at different gigs. I was never that happy with the JBL speaker volume or tone wise. You can dial it in with the app better. But at the end of the day, that's 150 watts. So but then again, it's got the 3 inputs. It's all like what matters to you. So I can give you a use case for each one. Like I said, you're in a loud rock band, you're the drummer, you want a floor monitor, you play heavy metal, I'd get the eVerse 8. You are in a trio and you need 3 inputs, I'd get the JBL. You're a solo act that goes around schools and performs and line out the PA and want something to amplify yourself, the Bose S1 Pro Plus. I mean, They all still have their niche, I feel, in my opinion. Yeah. So yes, I can do that comparison. I'd like to do that comparison. There's just really time, and you know, the YouTube thing is dangerous because if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I would have sold. Honestly, I would have sold the S1 Pro, the JBL, and just kept the Pro Plus and the EV. But because I got this channel, I feel like I should keep them all as long as I physically possibly can, because I could make that video, and we all know that video would get views even if I didn't do it very well, right? But then it's just like making the video and trying to make it well, because if I do that comparison, I really want to go to a hall or a rehearsal studio and actually play through them at full volume and record that, and at least say at the moment, like, well, this is what that sounds like, this is what. But I don't really feel I need to do that. I've used them at gigs. I know what they sound like, right? The EV is the loudest on paper, and it is in fact the loudest on paper if you look at the user guide. The JBL has the 3 inputs. That doesn't matter to me, so that one's kind of off the list. The S1 Pro, I always loved that thing because of the weight of it, but I did take it to some noisy gigs where it wasn't quite loud enough. I played at a massive room with loads of noisy tourists, and it wasn't loud enough. I needed more reinforcement than it could give me. And then, what's the last one? Well, like that gig, the EV would have been better. Or again, like an actual PA system at the end of the day. Maybe even that wouldn't have been loud enough too. So, don't forget, I've also taken a QSC CP8 to a bar, and it's starting to struggle. So it really, it's like, how long is a piece of paper, right? If you say to me, is this amp loud enough for this room? I'm like, well, how high is the ceiling? How many people in the room? How many couches are in the room? How many people in the room? How loud are they talking? There's so many factors to answer your question, but hopefully that gives you like a rough overview of what each one is for. Renato, 2 questions. Okay, I'm waiting for them. Michael, good to see you, buddy. Yes, so here we go. I'll talk about it on paper. The max SPL, that's the decibel level, for the eVerse 8 is 121 decibels. That is impressive. Bose S1 Pro Plus is 103 decibels. Well, there you go. So what I want to say about that is people will say that it's also dispersion that's important. Look up the dispersion, because it's not just about. In fact, let me do my rant now on this topic as well. I'm not saying this is the case, but please bear this in mind. Don't trust what you read with gear. I've been told by, not by Bose, but I've been told by, or any of these, not by these companies in particular, but I've been told by companies in the industry that you have to be careful with these numbers, right? Because you need to know how they measured this. And I'm not standing up for Bose here, by the way. I'm just saying this is a fact. When you measure a decibel level for a speaker, and I'm sure a lot of you know this already, many companies will say, well, the max level is 120 decibels. Right, it only hit that for a second, right? So it was like that loud spike there was that was 121. So is that really a 121 decibel speaker? No, it's not. That's completely not. That's not realistic. The actual dB is the that's the dB, isn't it? You can't, I mean, if you're going to say that it's that loudest one, then you have to put peak. Now, sometimes it will say dB peak. That's what the peak is. It's that loud spike. So remember that when you're reading these things. It's very important to read the technical data sheets of these products, but remember that it depends on what they're measuring and how they're measuring it. Because also, when you read the decibel level, where did they put the measurement mic? So here's your speaker. Did they measure the decibel level here or here? Because you can test this for yourself. If you get your phone and load up a decibel app, if you pull it back a few inches, it drops off in volume. So to do that, in fact, do this for yourself so you know about this stuff. In case you don't know how this works, get the decibel level app for your iPhone or whatever phone you have. Go up to one of your speakers that you currently own and hold it there and read what the decibel is at that volume. And then go back 5 feet and do it again, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying. It's important that these things are all measured the same. The only way we could really do this fairly, for me, is if I took them all to a hall, with my phone or an actual decibel meter, a one from Amazon, and mounted that in front of the same distance of every speaker, turned them all up to their maximum potential volume, and then took the measurements. Now, I don't think you're wrong. I do think, based on my experience, that the EV is going to be noticeably louder than the rest, because it is. But it's also heavier than the rest, and it also isn't wireless. It also doesn't do the streaming. It also isn't as compact. Blah 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 blah. So that I've already said that earlier on, Michael. I know you're a user of the eVerse, so I know you've had experience with it. But the eVerse is louder, yes. But then the features and the sound of the S1 Pro are unique enough to consider that. And I don't see a reason why you might not consider both of them. I know that doesn't really help you if you don't want to buy more than one product. But imagine, I haven't tried this yet, but imagine running the Bose S1 Pro Plus into an eVerse 8 and having them both. I think that could potentially do any room and allow you to be wireless. That could be cool too. So, just an idea, which I haven't tried yet. Okay, 2 questions from Renato. We've got a good crowd here today, so like I said, if you're new, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. I've only got 30 thumbs up, and there's 50 people. And if you're gonna buy something, use my link and help me out. I appreciate it, and I'll stay on a bit longer to finish all the questions today because we've got a good crowd. And I'll put my link here. In fact, if you're not in America, click that link anyway, because when people click on my affiliate link, it shows Sweetwater that I'm active in the community. All right, so thank you for the kind words. And when using USBs as interface, does it record 2 channels independently? And how many people handled in the venue? So, okay, let's do these one at a time. When using USB as okay, so when I did the live streaming, which I did on the show, I'm not sure. I think it mixes them down to 1 stream. I don't think it gives you 2 channels of audio. I don't think it's that advanced. I mean, I'm pretty impressed that it does the live streaming thing at all, to be honest. Like the fact that it works as an interface. So think about this. You're on the road, you're in a hotel, and you have your iPad. Yeah, because the iPad just got Logic Pro, didn't it? So you're in a hotel, you've got your iPad and your S1 Pro Plus, and you're playing your music through it, but you're learning for the next show. And you can plug the iPad into that with 1 USB-C cable, and suddenly you've got an interface on the iPad, and you can record through the inputs on the S1 Pro, basically working as a mixer into Logic, and listen back to the project through the S1 Pro Plus. You've basically got a whole basic demo studio with an iPad and an S1 Pro Plus. Unless I'm missing something, I think that's amazing. Really cool stuff. So I'm not sure if it's, I don't think, they're not separate channels, I don't think. I think it mixes them down to 1 stream, and then you just set the levels on the mixer itself. And I don't think I'd expect it to have more than that, honestly. Like I said, I'm impressed it works as a USB interface at all. And don't forget, it's also got the ability to charge a pedal from the other USB socket. And if you don't want to do that streaming stuff, you can charge your phone. Because someone said to me, well, what happens if the device dies? What if my phone dies while I'm playing a gig and I need to use the app to make changes? Well, first of all, you can still make the changes on the device. You don't have to use the app. And secondly, that's not going to happen because you can charge your phone while playing from the device, which is awesome. I can't do that with a regular PA system. And then your second question was, how much? So you see, I was just talking about this, Renato, and don't want to sound rude, but it's impossible to answer that question. I'm not being evasive, but how many people? Okay, well, maybe I'm reading your question wrong. How many people did it handle in the venue? Well, unfortunately, that wasn't my most popular day, and I had a maximum of about 15 people in the room at any one time. People were walking around. Think of like a museum type thing. People are just circulating the whole time. So only 15 people, but the room was massive, and I know they could hear me across the room. This is also important. Yeah, we should really get really geeky with this stuff. And I'm not saying that Michael isn't, and that he quoted that number from the DBs. I'm not saying that you don't think like I'm thinking that, Michael, by the way. Maybe you are. But it's not even about how many decibels is a speaker. It's about how far does the sound travel as well. And this is something that's hard to measure unless you get a friend to do it or make a loop or something. Think about it. You buy a speaker and it says it hits 121 decibels 10 feet away. That's great. What if at 100 feet away it's 1 decibel? That's just for the argument's sake. What if another speaker says it's 100 decibels at 5 meters away, but at 100 meters away it's also 100 decibels? So what I'm trying to say, like, it doesn't drop off. The volume doesn't drop off. I was looking at the Bose Tower spec sheet, and what they're saying, and again, this is the manufacturer's spec sheet, but what they're saying is the bigger the system you buy, like the 8, the 16, the 32, the further the sound will travel. And that's really important, isn't it? We want the volume that we hear on stage to be heard the same level as the people at the back of the room. The problem with many PA speakers and systems and speakers is that they blast sound out, but then at the back of the room they can't hear anything, and you have to put satellite speakers at the back of the room. Well, that's crazy. The whole point of a lot of speakers is that they do throw the sound out. So don't forget that as well. The dB rating of a speaker 1 foot away is completely useless information. You need to know how the sound travels, and is that the peak SPL or the average SPL? So Renato, I guess I have answered your question, right? It handled about 15 or 20 people, but the fact is the room is actually an old Best Buy. Imagine a Best Buy, like a huge store, and the sound going right out into the store. So I can't say that 100%. I didn't walk around while I was playing, but I know that people could hear me at the back, and that's a really good sign. All right, Steve is here. Good to see you, buddy. The Pro Plus isn't enough of an upgrade for me. The app is good for EQ, but also needs phantom power, another 100 watts. So I don't disagree. It doesn't have phantom power. That doesn't affect me in any way at all, but some people will need that phantom power. Now, do the others have phantom power? I can't remember. Please let me know in the chat. I don't think the Everse 8 has phantom power, so there we go. Another 100 watts. Yeah, I said that earlier on. I wouldn't be against that. I really hope that Bose release a larger S1 Pro, S2 Pro Plus with another input and another 100 watts. Still under £20. I'd be first in line for that. I'd still have both of them. I'd use the smaller S1 Pro Plus, like I said, personal amplification. I'd use the larger one for those noisy bar gigs I mentioned, and I would take both of them to the weddings and the bigger gigs. Of course, the other option is to buy 2 of them and take 2 if you're in a duo or something, but that depends on budget and different things. So Steve just got a second-hand Mark 1. Yeah, I should throw that out there as we're a gear channel. Of course, right now there's going to be a lot of people selling their original S1 Pro. So if you can get S1 Pro really cheap, I will say this, be careful with used gear. I always am a proponent of used gear. I have had a few bad experiences with used gear. What are the possible negatives with these? Make sure everything works. Make sure the battery still works well when you buy a used one. That's why with something like this, I'd rather get a new one. I want that fresh battery. I want everything to not have been thrown around for 5 years. Remember, these have been out for about 5 years now. So if you buy a used one that's been heavily gigged, make sure you check it all over first before you part with your cash. Am I still using the PRX one? No, I'm not, and I will make a video about it eventually, but I'm always talking about it. I kind of wish I'd never tried it and made a video about it, because now I feel the constant need to talk about this. The app is not good. The speaker is amazing. That's a product that is an amazing piece of hardware that I would recommend you buy if you don't care about an app. But the app is for me, the app is 50% and it's not good enough. And until they make it good enough, I would not be interested in recommending it based on what I would like to see in a product. But yes, hardware, excellent. App, I don't understand. Again, why is it taking this long to finish the app? I don't, or make the app as stable as I'd like it to be. I don't understand. That's my opinion. And sorry to be so blunt about it, but I'm trying to move on to the next question. So that's where I'm at with that thing right there. Do you have to buy the wireless system separately? Yes, the wireless systems are $150 each, and you buy them separately. They're very well made. They're very high quality, and they fit into the unit, which is awesome. I did show this on the previous stream. So check out that previous stream, but look, they live inside the box. And that means that when you finish the gig and plug them in, that they're charging instantly, which is great. Because they're always going to be charged up. I love this. I just told you earlier, I did get another set of the Sennheiser system. It's a great system. But every time I come home from a gig, I've got to take it out of the guitar bag, take it out of the case, plug it in the room, leave it overnight, unplug it, put it back in the box, put it back in the guitar bag, and take it to the gig. With the Bose S1 Pro Plus, you haven't got to do that. You stick them in there, you do the gig, you stick them in there, you go home, you're done. Awesome. That's one thing. I love that. A lot of people are laughing at me for that convenience, but I love that convenience so much. I get tremendous sound quality using the tone match setting with the Sennheiser E965 and E945. Yeah, but I have the 945. There's no actual 945 preset, is there? Which is a shame, but I guess it doesn't really matter. If you find one that you like, that's fine. I was tempted to use my Shure mic with the S1 Pro Plus and leave the mic in the bag so it's always there. I never forget the mic. And then the Shure does have a tone match preset. I was going to try that next time. Can the S1 Pro Plus handle low-end frequencies from bass drums? I also have the OC5. In your opinion, will it project bass in a medium size or outside gig? Hard to answer. I think for me, it has too much low end. I'm running the bass on 0, all the way off when I do a gig. Too much low end for me. So in that regards, it will do a very modest, what's the word? Handsome. It will do a good job of amplifying the bass. I was playing bass frequencies through mine today, and it was very good. But it's not going to handle them like a subwoofer. This is also subjective. My gut feeling is this is not a product for a bass player. This is not a product for a low kick drum. Although I'm sure people will disagree with me. Maybe there's bass players out there using them. It's just, in my mind, this is a 6-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch speaker? A 6-inch speaker, 150 watts. Yes, it can handle it, and it does reproduce those frequencies. Like I said, I think it has too much low end, personally, for what I do. But I wouldn't want to recommend. The truth is, I haven't tried it with a bass guitar. My instinct is maybe not. Maybe someone's going to watch the video and say they use it with a bass guitar and they love it. I don't know. I guess I can't answer your question. I'll just say this. It handles the bass better than I thought it would. I put a bass pedal through mine today, and I thought I wouldn't hear any bass, and I heard the bass. But when I turned that pedal up too loud, it was starting to struggle. So yeah, it will do a very acceptable job. Again, let's just, I don't know who am I trying to convince here, you or me? When I keep saying things like, let's keep this in perspective. This is a small amp. It is a small speaker. It's a small box. It is very light. It is 150 watts. Let's keep our expectations in check, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it handles bass better than I thought it would, but I don't know if I want to be a bass player and use one in a rock band. But then again, why would you do that? Why would you go to a rock band and play? Then again, I haven't tried it, so maybe you can. So let's leave that as I don't know. Oh, one more thing though. They are now advocating for subwoofer usage with the S1 Pro Plus. There's a mode that turns on the sub mode that basically eradicates all the low end, and then you use a subwoofer with it. So if you're a bass player, let's face it, you're going to do that, right? You're going to have a subwoofer to handle those kind of frequencies. So then you have a system where you could do acoustic guitar and bass guitar with the sub. The sub's going to take all that low end energy and probably give you more headroom out of the S1 Pro as well, which is good. Oh, okay, great. Steve has the answer. I've just got the Fishman sub 300, 12 kilograms to pair with the S1. Sounds great. Oh, I'd love to try that. I'd love to try a small sub. Bose are recommending their own sub to use with the S1 Pro Plus. I'd love to see them make a smaller sub for the S1 Pro Plus. I'd be very interested in that. But yeah, if you have a Bose system with the subwoofer that you use in a band, like the big tower, you can take that sub and use it with the S1 Pro Plus as well, which is great. And Steve said it sounds great, so I'd like to try that now. Very cool. Tony Wilson, how you doing, buddy? Your videos have been so helpful. Is this system designed for stereo or single speaker? I'd like to keep my stereo effects for my electric guitar and Helix, but vocals in both speakers. Buy two of them. Buy two of them. The thing is, I like stereo effects too. I know if you Bluetooth two of these together, your music is in stereo. How do you use this with your Helix? You put it into FRFR mode, and you could send the Helix left and right. Oh, yeah, you can do it, can't you? Because Helix left and right, you can send to the speaker. And in theory, you can do it wireless as well. In theory, you can buy two S1 Pro Pluses, put them into FRFR mode, buy two guitar transmitters, run those out of your Helix left and right into the S1 Pro Pluses left and right, channel 1 in each one, put them both up, and have them behind you and have stereo FRFR that weighs a total of under 25 pounds. I mean, I'm just waiting for someone to say to me, I'm crazy, that's too much money to spend. But at the end of the day, how else are you going to get stereo FRFR that weighs under 25 pounds and is wireless? Right? How else are you going to do that? And then, of course, you'd run a cable into the Helix, or you could buy something like the XSW system for that. You could be completely wireless. I don't know. It really depends on the gig, doesn't it? But yeah, so one speaker is not going to give you stereo, and in fact, rarely does, right? But you could use two of them, and then you'd have those stereo effects, which could be awesome. Yeah, or there's many other things you can get as well for that kind of stuff. So the market is saturated with this stuff. That's why I like this product, because they're doing something unique. There's so many other products out there. Mark said, I drive my pedal board with a Syncu rechargeable battery. I get 3 or 4 hours plus out of it. It weighs 1 pound. Okay, great. So again, if you're running a pedal board with this, rather than deplete the battery and look for the right cable to do that, you could just run a battery pack as well. Eli, question for you. Is the noise gate issue noise floor you spoke about also just well? I'll say this. I asked them about it, and they said it's all related to how that thing switches between mic and line. Doesn't fix the problem, but does address why it's doing it. So therefore, it's not a bug. I do not hear it at a gig. I only hear it if I sit in the room and listen really carefully. So I don't think anyone else is going to notice it apart from me. So I've kind of forgotten about it, because I know it's not a bug. I know it's just the way the system works. And realistically, I'm never going to hear it in use. I didn't hear it today, actually, while I was playing in my room. Do understand this, right? When you do YouTube reviews, you end up getting very analytical. You end up putting everything under a microscope. You end up getting looking for problems the minute you get something. You're like, you can get quite jaded. You can be like, okay, here we go, another product. What's the problem this time? Let's listen. Let's run it through. You know, you've seen these videos now where YouTubers are running things through oscilloscopes and looking at the waveforms, and I've done it too. Okay, I'm not knocking it. I think it's very valuable, but the minute you then play gigs with stuff, you don't really notice it. It happens to me all the time. I buy a new guitar, I'm listening. Oh, there's a slight buzz there, or there's a bit too much noise in the Stratocaster to pick up. Oh, I have to send it back. No, I've spent the money. I'm sitting there. I'm listening for every little problem that may exist in the product, and then a few weeks later, you realize your return window has passed, and you pick it up and you just sit and play, and then hours go by and you think, oh wow, the time has passed. So I'm not making excuses here. If it continues, if it bugs me again, I will talk about it again, but I haven't. Certainly at a gig, you'd never hear that. You might hear it in the live stream, I guess. You might hear it in a very quiet bedroom. But I didn't hear it today, and I wasn't even thinking about it actually, which is a good sign. So I didn't hear it today. But yeah, the day I heard that, I was sitting there in front of it, like plucking through the notes. And I also did a factory reset and left those gates on. So that's eliminating a lot of that actual noise. So for a little bit of noise peaks you get while you're playing, you're also getting completely noiseless sound when you're not playing, which is what a noise gate does. And this isn't a noise gate. This is a, what do they call it? What do they call it? It's not. They don't call it a noise gate. I forgot. But it's a very subtle noise gate. So unless you play with the absolute lightest touch you possibly can, it's not going to engage anyway. So yeah, I've actually left them on now, which is cool. But you can turn them off, which is also cool. Forget 6, good to see you. Just joining. Instead of the guitar pedal, can you use a vocal pedal like the Mic Mechanic 2, which has XLR in and out? Now, that's a good question. That's something that I haven't thought about yet, because the cable I purchased is this one. Yeah, I was thinking this myself. Obviously, with a pedal, you're plugging in this TRS cable to the input, and you're plugging in these two to the pedal, these two guitar type cables. So you're right, with a mic cable, can you still do that? That's a good question. I was going to ask Bose that. I didn't ask them. I don't know yet. But I get your point, because like I have a play acoustic. So can I patch that in? Can I patch that in? Or yeah, like you said, say you've got an XLR pedal that does vocal processing of some kind. Can you patch that in via the XLR input? I don't know. But certainly a Helix, a Quad Cortex, a looper, a tuner, a reverb. I remember I said there's only one reverb. Again, for what I do, I just put reverb on and play. The room has reverb anyway. But if you're doing live streaming, if you want a certain reverb, you can patch that into the unit. So that's cool. You could even like use 3M, right, and stick it to the side of it or something, and then patch it in with short cables. So that's cool they've done that. But yeah, I don't know. Forget 6. So let's investigate that. John said, I recently did a gig in a meeting room beneath a bank and was asked to turn down the volume because of the vibration alarm. I went home. Well, it'd be a good speaker for that, wouldn't it? Was it 3.2 you having issues with? 3.2? What is that? Sorry, I don't know what you mean. Rexomatic, greetings. Thanks for the info. Join late day. We'll go back and check the beginning. Yeah, please do. That's where I give you all the juicy information. Alan, it's amazing how the watt numbers can be so deceiving. I'm using a Boss Cube Street 2, which is only 10 watts. The sound is good and it's really loud enough for the noise outside place. Yep. Yeah, those specs really mean nothing. It's really the room, what you're plugging in, how you use it, who's in the room, where do you measure those numbers. So for me, the JBL is the best. Dozens of EQs do the trick, especially useful for the pickup. I'm grateful for the JBL. Yes, it could be more lightweight, and yes, the EQ is hard to manage via the phone finger touch. Yeah, and that's that app. I'm talking, when I talk about JBL's app, I'm talking about the new app. The old app I really like. And okay, so you're busking all the time. You like the JBL? Well, that's great. I don't hate the JBL. I don't know. It's funny, but a lot of people are actually using that now. Remember when it first came out, everyone said, oh, the Bose sounds better out of the box. And then suddenly over the years, people have actually switched to the JBL. I think volume-wise, they're about the same. But yes, one thing about the Bose is you don't have the mid-control. You don't have the customizable EQ. I do think Bose should add a mid and some kind of graphic EQ, because it's very Apple-like the way Bose are doing it. Everything's just locked down, right? You use your treble bass, you select a tone match preset, and you play. Which, to be fair, works really well. But there's always going to be a user that wants to dial something out. My Cole Clark is amazing at gigs. It's very stable. But any pickup that tends to feed back, like a K&K, would need a parametric EQ. So what I'd have to do is patch it in to the Bose system. I'd have to patch it in. And I don't really want to do that. So it's okay now because I'm using the Cole Clark and it doesn't really have that problem. But yeah, if you use something like K&K pickup, you're probably going to want another pedal to patch in. So it'd be nice if the S1, all the Bose products had those parametric EQs built in. But there we go, just a thought. Been playing for hours in direct sunlight. Nothing has overheated. That's very important to you. I know that. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a question that I can't answer. Do these speakers overheat and shut down in the sunlight? Of course, that's important to some people as well. And he's saying it hasn't let him down, so that's great information. John said, instead of renting a hall, connect with a local church and use the sanctuary on a Tuesday. Don't ask him. But you know what I mean. I don't necessarily mean rent a hall. If I could go to some big space where I can turn all these up, I could actually stick them on the stage, stand out front, and play through them. I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it. I'm really busy with gigs right now. I've got loads of videos I never made. I do know that video would get hundreds of thousands of views, so maybe I should. Well, watch this space. We'll see. What are your thoughts on selling gear? Right now, don't even bother because no one's buying anything. Sorry to say. That's not true. A friend of mine just sold a guitar. So people are buying stuff, but it's nothing like it was 6 months ago. Is there a selling algorithm? I'm terrible at selling. You know, I'm very honest when I sell gear. I list it for a very fair price. I'm very upfront about the condition. Sometimes I think my prices are so low that people don't buy it, and then I freak out and drop the price because I just want to move on with my time. And then I think people think it's too cheap and there's a problem with it. And the reality is there's not. So do take this advice. Be honest, take all the pictures and video you can of the thing and set the price fairly, like just above fair, and then allow them to make an offer, because people don't like stuff that looks too, especially these days. If something looks too good to be true, then people think it's a scam. Steve says, I wonder if you could use the Plus running into two old S1s, taking advantage of the Plus's wireless. Yeah, exactly. You can do that. You could just use the S1 Pro Plus as your wireless device, your wireless guitar, your wireless mic and monitor, and then run it into any speaker, whether that's an EV, a JBL, or another Bose, whatever, which is cool, right? Again, no one's talking about this. It is, if they have indeed improved the wireless now, it's a viable option just as your wireless unit. And I think, we're saying that the total price then is $1,000 with everything for the wireless. Yeah, but my wireless mic was $500, right? The eVerse 8 was $800. So now we're starting to get into, now it's looking like a really good value somehow. Graham, my Laney Duo has phantom power, but it's different beast, only uses mains and it's bigger. However, I think the battery version, the Fresco, may have phantom power too, right? Yeah, there are units that have phantom power. I can't think of any right now, but like my old AER I used to gig an AER Compact 60 that had phantom power, but I never used it, and that thing was not loud enough even for the small venues. It was only 60 watts, and it didn't have very good dispersion. Rexomatic, have ever taken a decibel meter to a gig to measure volume 20 or 40 feet away from the stage? Probably need to record a vocal guitar loop. You know what's interesting is the Apple Watch tells you when you've had dangerous levels of exposure, like over 90 decibels. And there are nights when it says you've had over, like when I use the bigger systems, it will tell me you've experienced volume that's too loud. So there you go. Actually, I'm damaging my hearing anyway. So maybe I'm playing too loud anyway. That's a really good tool. I love the Apple Watch. It's a great thing. I do measure volume sometimes, but it's obviously hard while you're playing. If I could clone myself, I'd buy one of those actual dB meters and walk around the room just out of interest to measure this stuff. It'd be really useful information. Hi, buddy. New Orleans, very cool. Can I get Martin to send me a new junior bass to test? Well, first of all, I'm not really a bass player. And second of all, I don't think Martin are going to send me anything, as much as I've given them a lot of exposure on my YouTube channel. I don't expect them to, honestly. I would like to see these new John Mayer guitars and review them, but you know, there's plenty of people out there with a lot more clout that I'm sure. In fact, I don't think Martin really. Well, no, they do send guitars to some people. You know. Yeah, I don't think the bass. Oh, I guess I could. The thing about a bass is, like someone said earlier, it would be good if I did compare the speakers. It'd be good to play the bass through them, wouldn't it? I don't have to be a bass player to do that. Just need to play the notes through it, and to see how it handles the bass guitar. So, but yeah. Oh, okay. Let me not be so negative, John. Yes, I would love Martin to send me a junior bass to test. Thank you. If you're watching, I know they're all watching. So hi guys. I'm just kidding, they're not watching. Matthew says, I got the S1 Plus and wireless modules. Great. Tested at home and all seemed good. Same. However, took it to the first gig and the XLR wireless module wouldn't connect even after a restart. Okay, that sounds more like a hardware problem. Did you contact Bose? That sounds like that needs to be replaced. And then, of course, there's things like, was it charged? Did you update the firmware and everything? Blah, 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 blah. But that sounds like a customer support question. The interesting thing is the XLR hasn't cut out on me once. It was only that guitar one that cut out. So I don't understand why. There might be something there, but anyway, it's all good now. Had to fall back to old wireless system, but definitely lost a lot of trust in the Plus. Well, don't, because have you watched the start of this video? You need to watch the whole video before you lose trust. James says, I run a cable from the S1 to the F1 Bose powered speaker. Still dream about F1 subwoofer. Yeah, so that's great, right? If you have another system, whether it's Bose or something else, you just don't forget this has an output, a line out. And, you know, again, like the QSC speakers, they're so powerful, but they're so dumb. They have no features. The S1 Pro isn't as powerful, but has all the features. What a great combination that could be. S1 Pro Plus for you as a monitor, and then sending that mix out into the more powerful speaker up high in the stand that's just blasting out a load of volume. You really, as a solo musician, you wouldn't need anything else. Or, of course, like the Pro 16, the Pro 16, but do all your mixing from the S1 Pro Plus. Send one cable into that system and then stick it through that as well. Use the Bose as your monitor. I think that's the way it's meant to be used, isn't it? DJ Shane, the sub one brings the S1 Pro to life. Oh, I have two of each. They play well together. You see? Yeah. I think that's the answer, Shane, is to use the sub. If you're a DJ or you're playing bass guitar, you want the sub, right? Even if you're playing acoustic guitar or the band, whatever, if the sub is handling those low frequencies, it really frees up the speaker. That's the other thing with volume. The more bass you put into a speaker, the more headroom you lose very quickly, because that bass takes up a ton of energy. So if you have a subwoofer just handling those low, boomy, powerful frequencies, then the speaker on top only has to handle the higher frequencies. It's more efficient, therefore you get more volume, more headroom, more battery life. It's a very good idea. At one point I will try a sub with the S1 Pro Plus. I bet it'll be a very different experience. Although I guess the sub has to be powered, right? That's the only thing. You have to power the sub. It's not rechargeable. But anyway, that's why I think Bose should make a sub that's rechargeable. Imagine that. A subwoofer, smaller, but still punchy, for the S1 Pro that's rechargeable, so it's all wireless, and then maybe that could then have even more power. You know, the battery from that could then be used to power other devices or something. I don't know, just a thought. It's been a long session. The F1 system with the sub is amazing. I have two F1 8112s and two F1 subs, and they are amazing. Okay, well, I need to look into that. I think what I've got from all this is the modular approach is a good idea. So let's just talk like money's not a problem, and we're doing a full-time thing here with full-time DJs, with full-time musicians. Just imagine that two S1 Pro Pluses, two Pro 16s or Pro 32s, and then certain gigs you take one of the subs from the Pro 32 and one of the S1 Pros. For certain gigs you take one of the subs and two of the S1 Pros. For certain gigs you take one S1 Pro. For certain gigs you take one Pro 16. For certain gigs you take two Pro 16s. For certain gigs you take two Pro 16s and two S1 Pro Pluses. All right. Now, of course, if you only play in coffee shops, you don't need that. You just get one S1 Pro Plus. But I think the modular thing is really what you want to think about. That's what I've been thinking about lately with my gear. Like, how can I have a rig? I don't want to have a full PA and then all these battery speakers and electric guitar amp and this. I don't want to have, like, I haven't got anywhere to store it, right? I want to have a rig where I can go out and do a solo gig, go out and do a band gig, go out and just have that stuff, and it just works, you know. Charlie, how you doing? Good to see you. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. It's been a long session. Oh, hang on. Okay. So, thank you, moderators. Yeah, I'm worn out now. I've been talking for an hour and 45 minutes. I think I gave you the message. I told you, I've updated you all my thoughts, all my experiences. We've talked in detail here. Thank you for joining me. I've learned a lot today from what you've said. I hope that you've learned something from what I've said today. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But I had a good time. Hope you had a good time too. And yeah, so this is the way I handle things now. Like, if nothing changes, you probably won't hear about this again unless I make a video for some reason. So If anything does change, I'll update you. We do the live streams every Monday at 4 o'clock EST. So just join me on a Monday and we talk about all things gear. Normally it's more of a general gear chat or whatever's being released at the time or I'm using at the time. Obviously I'm focusing on this right now. And like I said earlier, I feel like I owe it to Bose to update. Fair is fair, right? They've done this and I need to put it out there. So we can talk more about these same topics next week or whatever else you want to talk about. And I'll just continue to update you all the time about my experiences. But so far, yeah, hopefully today I've addressed my thoughts on this product and the other products, and hopefully it will help you. And like I said, always come and tell me what you're using, what's working for you, and how you're using it as well. I didn't even think about using this with a subwoofer, but now you've got that in my head. So I might have to start looking into that. Yeah, so to finish up, if you're new here, I know we've got some new faces and new names here. Please subscribe and ring the bell. That's how you can help me out. Subscribe and ring the bell. If you are in the USA and going to buy anything, I always have affiliate links in the description below. I have Amazon, Reverb, and Sweetwater. Doesn't cost you anything. You just click it and then make your purchase. Really helps me out. Do things like go to a hall and make shootouts of battery-powered speakers. Things like that. So, yeah, I hope today's been helpful. I'm really happy. So often, so often there's negative things to say about different things in the gear world because there's so much gear and there's so many things that happen. And certainly in my experience, I've experienced that a lot. And it's very, very refreshing to come on and talk about something that's working as intended. It makes me happy. So may it long continue. I hope to see Bose continuing to support this product and maybe add features and release new products. We'll see. I don't know, but it's certainly. So I certainly take my hat off to them for doing this and thank them for caring about the product. I think that's great. So everyone have a great week. It's my birthday on Thursday. Send your cards to Aaron Short, USA. We'll see if they make it to me. And enjoy the week. What am I doing this week? I got a gig tomorrow, house PA system. I've got a gig Wednesday. Probably take the Bose to that one. That's a hotel. Thursday, house system. Friday, house system. Saturday I'll be using the Bose, Sunday I'll be using the Bose. So definitely be using that at 50% of the gigs this week. So that'll be a great chance for me to see if that Wi-Fi continues to work. So come and drop by next Monday. It's been great having such a good crowd here. Drop by and I'll update you how this week is as well. And likewise, if you've got the system, please let me know. I want to get feedback from everybody. It'd be great. And yeah, you made a great stream. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Next time you see me, I'll be a year older. How about that? Yeah, thank you, Rosanna. Thank you for moderating. So Rosanna is awesome. She's always here moderating and helping out with the chat. Although lately we've had no trolls, which is also awesome. But you never know. I shouldn't say that because you never know what's going to happen with these trolls, right? I'm just reading your birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Miss Lee Music. Thank you, Miss Lee. Happy birthday from Australia. Awesome. Great bit of kit. Happy birthday for Thursday. Have a good week. Yeah, Lee's asked me before about an acoustic amp and doing small gigs. This is it. This is what you should get, really. Yeah, and make the investment. Get something high quality that you'll enjoy. I mean, there are cheaper options. I was playing the Boss Katana the other day. Blew me away. But that's an electric guitar amp. That is super affordable. Incredible. I'm going to talk about that sometime in the future. I've done videos about it before. But with something like a PA speaker for your guitar and your voice, get something like this. Get something high quality that you can use to make money in the future. Speculate to accumulate. Get something good and also inspire you to play more. The acoustic guitar sounds very good through this. Much better than a lot of the more expensive acoustic amps, in my opinion. Not the ones I've reviewed lately, but like I said, I used to use the AER amps. They were expensive, and they didn't sound as good as this, especially for vocals. That would be amazing, says Shane. Happy birthday, says Beamer. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, I don't want to go now. I'm having such a good time. Let's do it again next Monday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time next Monday. Subscribe and ring the bell. If you ring the bell, it will tell you when I go live, and it will remind you to come and say hi. So please do that. And if you've got friends that are into gear, please send them the channel. I'd really want to get to 15K soon. So help me out. Tell your friends to subscribe and watch the show. And look at it this week. I haven't got any videos planned. I've got lots I need to do. So subscribe and ring the bell, turn on notifications, and it will then tell you if and when those videos are up, and you haven't got to call me up and ask me when that video is going online. Thank you. It's actually my 21st, but I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go. Have a great week. Thank you so much. I love today. It's been awesome. I'll see you soon. Thank you, Bose. Great job. Check out the Bose S1 Pro Plus and let me know what you think about it. Bye-bye.